I would say a big item on my to-do list as AI continues to be democratized and applied is to revisit my code of conduct and clearly state what the stance is on the use of these technologies. I think as knowledge workers, there's also a lot of thinking that needs to go into how do you define your values, the trust and ethical decision making in the context of the program that is run, which has always been a part of the work, building out the code of conduct, running a values storming exercise with your members, making sure that it's a safe space committed to career development, growth, or whatever other impact your members are gaining or value that your members are gaining, because it is different for every individual who's participating. And I think, in a world where we're again rethinking what it means to be human in the workplace, I think it's very important to think back to what unique value do humans provide in knowledge work. So discussions, the ability to prioritize, the ability to present and tell a story. I think you mentioned storytelling earlier. Engagement, decision making, connection, inspiring each other. Those intangibles and intrinsic motivators, I think, are things that I'll want to investigate as I ensure that there's a safe and inclusive environment in the programs that I run.
Marjorie, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, I think if we're thinking about safe and inclusive environments, it is really important that when we are doing things like enforcing community guidelines and policies, it's got to be equitable. I mean, everyone from the new person in your community to the senior level person who has been contributing for 20 years, they don't get a pass, right? If something's happening and they violated community guidelines or policies, you 100% have to apply those equitably. You have to moderate intentionally. So that doesn't mean that if you've got moderation heuristics set in your technology that you can just set it and forget it. You need to go back and check that. Sometimes things get caught that are not meant to be moderated, or it's not spam, or it's not, bad actors, and sometimes things don't get caught. So you have to keep an eye on what's happening in your community. You have to make sure your community members feel seen and heard. Are their questions getting answered? If they file a complaint, are you having conversations with them to really understand what that's about? Are they being onboarded in an intentional way? Nothing feels worse than entering into a community space and not having formal onboarding, or at least a welcome for that matter. Allowing space for diversity of thought and discourse that's free of vitriol. People can have differing opinions, and sometimes it helps to uncover something really amazing between the people who are engaging in a community space. So, allowing space for those things to happen is really, really important. What we don't want to do is sanitize the community experience so much that it feels weird to be in that space. We don't want to create echo chambers. We want to create diversity of thought. We want to create opportunities for growth, but we want to do it in a way that makes people feel like, you know what, if I've got a difference of opinion, I can voice that. If something is happening that I need to report, I feel safe going to community personnel and letting them know, or a volunteer moderator and letting them know. If I make a mistake, or if senior person in community makes a mistake, we're both going to have the same consequences. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing above all else is to be present and an advocate for your community members when it's appropriate. They need to know someone is there helping them navigate that space. And while they may not want you, to tell them where the forums are, or say, hey, here's a webinar you might enjoy, what they do need is to know that someone's there to advocate on their behalf should things kind of go a little haywire. So be present, apply your moderation practices equitably, and just make it a safe space. Make people feel like they have found their place. Otherwise, they'll find somewhere else to go or create it themselves. And at the end of the day, that's a huge detriment to your community, and it happens silently and it happens quickly.